Welcome to Backstage with Richard Ridge. The Tony Award-winning Best Musical, Hadestown, has just welcomed two new stars who are father and daughter. Jon Jon Briones and Issa Briones have taken on the roles of Hermes and Eurydice, and I caught up with them at Civilian. I am thrilled to be sitting with both of you here in the Rick Miramontes atelier at the Civilian.
Yes.
Well, first of all, welcome back to Broadway, Jon Jon.
Thank you.
And welcome to Broadway.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
This has to be like one of the greatest moments of your lives together, to be on Broadway together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's always been a dream to be on Broadway, of course, because growing up in musical theater, growing up in our household, it was just Broadway soundtracks all the time, and always practicing my Alphaba or my Jason Robert Brown. But this time, I think after a while of doing more TV, I kind of let it go as a dream. I thought like, oh, maybe that's not my path. Maybe that's not my dream anymore. But to have it come back around at this time, and now with my dad, I'm remembering like, oh right, no, this has always been my dream. This has been like my first dream. And it feels like home, coming home.
You are home.
I am home.
So what's it been like for you? I mean, returning to Broadway with your daughter.
You know, Broadway has always been kind of weird. When I reached 40, I went, it's too late. Because all I could think of was to get on Broadway as an ensemble, because, you know, and I went, I'm seeing ensemble members and they're active and what's the word?
They're triple threats.
Well,
Yeah,
They can do
and
everything.
I can't do that anymore. I went, okay, that dream is gone. And then I made my Broadway debut at the age of 51. I went, oh, it's never too late. So and then after that, I was like, okay, I did my Broadway. I'm good. But this came back around. I went, oh, I do belong here. And I never realized I needed to be back on stage. I needed this for my soul. And then to top it all, it was with.
Well, I want to go back to rehearsals because I understood you were a basket case crying all during rehearsals, right?
Yeah.
Missing his cues.
Yeah.
Because he was watching me.
You know the blocking, right? He's on a stool and she's down there. And I'm looking at her, and suddenly the director went, Jon Jon, pay attention. Oh, no.
That's you.
Sorry. And then I go, I'm sorry. And there's a tissue box there, and I would just dab it like, okay, let's
Yeah, no, it definitely
do it again.
works that your role has water and tissues next to you at all times.
And I still do.
Yeah.
I still get teary-eyed just watching her.
Yeah.
And and you know, the story, it becomes more personal because it's like I have vested interest to make this work, because literally the person I love is involved in it.
Yeah.
You know. Anyway. Oof, man. Sorry.
Like I said, this doesn't happen very often. We were talking before we went on camera. I don't think there's a lot of sets of parents and children. There's a few of them, but I mean, this is a really, really big deal.
Yeah.
So, talk about what do you remember about your first performance? Let's talk about this. Okay, your Broadway debut, they are so magical. So that first night on stage in Hadestown, a blur, what do you remember?
Well, the thing is, I think leading up to it, I get very nervous, and I'm someone who, my nerves like affect my voice a lot, and so I was like, oh, this is gonna be the biggest stage I've ever been on, or maybe not biggest space-wise, but just big, and thinking like, oh my God, I'm gonna be a mess. I'm not gonna be able to sing any notes because I'm just gonna be like shaking. But for some reason that day, I was nervous, but I kind of had this overwhelming calm that I was so grateful for, and all of a sudden I was like, wow, I guess maybe that's a sign that like this is where I'm supposed to be. And I went out there and it just kind of felt natural. And even when our friends and family came, they were like, you seemed so okay out there. Like, we were more nervous than you were.
I was so proud and impressed by you because during rehearsals, she would not be able to continue because she's so emotional and just crying.
All I've Ever Known and Flowers are very, very emotional songs, and if you can't help but connect it to your own life because it's written so beautifully, and there were definitely moments where I would be singing All I've Ever Known and all of a sudden be like, I'm so sorry, can we move on and come back to this because I need a second. And
so dramatic.
I'm so dramatic, my God. But no, but yes, what were you saying?
No, just so proud of her.
Overcome that.
So proud of her.
Yeah.
So when you took your bow, what was going through your mind that first night?
I think the first time I came out was like, okay, this is crazy. I can't believe this. Okay, and of course there's the beginning moment where my dad comes out and he greets everyone and he comes over to me and he kisses me on the forehead and of course I started to well up and was like, nope, not yet, you have to sing. And so then we were able to get through the whole show, but then once we got to the bows or just to the final song, that was a moment where I kind of let my brain go, you know what, soak this in, like you've dreamed of this moment. This is a day that you never thought would come. Like, soak it in. And like looking out at just all the lights, I just started to get very emotional. And that bow and getting to bow next to my father, it's just insane.
Yeah.
And how were you that night? What do you remember about your first performance with her on stage?
My wife asked me before I went to the theater, what is your strongest emotion right now? I said, I feel calm. And I think I've been pushing it aside because of what happened in rehearsals and, something like, be calm. And I learned this being in Miss Saigon that as one of the leads, I need to be as calm as possible for everyone because most of the time they're so much younger than me. And,
it comes from the top. It sets the tone. Yeah.
So I thought, I need to be calm. But curtain call, I lost it. I went, it was so wonderful and weird and scary that I went, oh my God, I'm gonna break down right now. And I thought I was, but emotions just came out. I love it. Oh my God, theater.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, Hadestown is a very special show. I mean, all shows are special, but there's something really special about this one. What is it? Why do you think people fly in from all over the world to see Hadestown in New York, and what is the connection?
I think already things like Greek mythology have always been parables that have obviously lasted through time, and they're always like every story we consume is some iteration of these original stories, and so already it's very relatable. It's things that it's archetypes that we've grown up with, but these archetypes are then kind of flipped on their head, and they're making us, the world today, think about like, okay, if these are stories that we believe in, why are we not implementing these values today? And also they're just it says it's like it's an old song, it's a love song, like it's about love, it's about art. Orpheus is this artist who brings the world back to life, and at the end of the day, that's what art does. And we've had so many, like I've met a lot of like art teachers, music teachers that come and they're saying like, this meant so much to me, and like these schools are trying to cut more of our funding, and it's just so devastating when that's the reality. But like, look at this show. It's art that is bringing people in, that is opening our hearts. It breaks down Eurydice's walls. It brings everyone. It brings spring again. Like it's so powerful. And I think with Aeneas's beautiful poetry, it's just so hard not to let it in and let it break down the audience's walls.
Yeah.
Oh God. Beautiful.
Beautifully put.
Beautiful.
Do you want to add to that? Like, what do you think it is?
Well, to add to that, it is a story of hope, right? It's especially when my character going, it's the thing to know how it ends. And just like in life, we say it's going to be the same anyway. Why even bother?
Yeah.
But that is what living is all about. Hoping that this time around it's gonna happen. Because if you resign yourself to the fact that nothing's gonna change, it's not gonna happen for you, then we're gonna be doomed. We're people doomed. But if you keep on waking up and going, let's do this again, and then sleep at night and go, okay, tomorrow it's gonna happen. It's the story of hope, isn't it? And that's what keeps us going. That's what makes us human.
Yeah. What's your favorite moment that your dad does in the show?
We're laughing because there have been some moments that were hard to get past during rehearsal because they're so funny. He's a funny guy.
Yeah.
But there's the funny one and then there's like the serious one. I'll start with the funny one.
Okay.
Oh, there's so many. But I really loved during Way Down in Hadestown, the first one. He just lets loose. He's gotten crazier and crazier as everything has happened. And Jordan and I are just the whole time just watching him like wide-eyed, like, what are you gonna do this time? And he does this like leg thing and like goes down very slowly, like way down, and then we like a train come rolling, clickety clack. His clickety clack is my favorite thing that's ever happened on a Broadway stage. I hope there's footage out there that one day Hadestown will release, but he does this crazy like jump thing and is just like staring at me and Jordan, and it's so intimidating and also so silly. He's just a goofball in that moment, which is so nice because so much of the show is very serious and it gets very sad. It's a tragedy, but that's one moment where there's levity and I get to like look at my dad and see my goofy dad, you know. But I think my favorite moment is at the end of the show when we sing "It's a Love Song" and my dad turns to me and I do the traditional Filipino manoppo, which is like a blessing, and that's just like a beautiful moment always because at that point, the story has kind of faded and we are kind of coming back to being the players who just told you a story. And in that moment, I can look at him and be like, that's my dad. And let's celebrate the story we just told. And it's very
That's
special.
beautiful. Favorite moments of watching your daughter?
I have a lot as well. But when I introduced her, there was one more. So, oof.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Jesus. What is this? There was one more. When I say there was one more soul on this road, and then I point to the door, the big door. It's empty, and then when I say, "Girl, come on in from the cold," and I see her. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, there are shows that come and go, but like you say, there's something that touches everybody with Hadestown. The visuals, I mean, the direction, the whole story, the acting, everything about it. Going into a company that was already like put together.
Right.
Did it make it easier going in together?
There's something really special about having like obviously the very close connection that we have, being able to be like, okay, like how did that feel after rehearsal, and like how are you feeling, or what, or being able to be like, this one part is feeling weird, and then we get to discuss it and help each other. And I mean, all I've really done is joined pre-existing companies, and that is always so intimidating. And I mean, when I did it with Hamilton, I was 19 years old. I was a baby. I didn't know. And everyone was older than me. Everyone had done so much more than me. And so going in, I was just so nervous and felt like I couldn't really be comfortable or be myself or speak up. But the fact that we were coming in together was it's like you always have a safe space at work, which is beautiful.
Beautiful.
And this cast is just amazing.
The nicest people.
The nicest people, the most talented people, and they accepted us and welcomed us, and
Everyone was so excited for us.
so excited for us. It's just beautiful. I don't like saying this, but I can claim this. I'm lucky. We're very lucky to be here.
I love it. You mentioned Hamilton. I've spoken to many Hamilton cast
sure you
members
have.
over the years, and I always ask them if they went to the White Room.
Sorry.
Meaning, did they go up during the show? Because that turntable happens, so the lyrics go on, and you're like, oh my gosh. Did it happen to you at all on the tour
Okay.
of Hamilton?
And we call this, well, White Room and also Burr's Corner. We call it Burr's Corner.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I didn't have anything too crazy. It was more, because also I was usually playing Peggy Mariah.
Yeah.
And so there's less to flub, but I definitely one time was like, Daddy said to be home by sundown. Daddy said to town. And I just kind of, and that's the thing is, there's, when you're about to like when you're messing up things in a show, I feel like there are 2 or 3 different types of people. It's like people who just go silent and just blank stare, and as an audience member, you're like, oh no. And then there's just keep the train going, and you just hang on to the tongue, hang on, and it's just kind of keep making noises until you find it again, which for Hamilton is so necessary because that music keeps going. It's on a track.
Right.
You have to catch up. So if you stop, it's so much harder to catch up. So if you just kind of keep the rhythm going, you're like, I'll eventually get it, I guess. But this time, like, has been rough for me because I've never been the lead in a musical like this before, so I've got a lot more words to remember. I also have a lot of props to remember. I keep forgetting the goddamn flower.
Oh no!
I have to put the flower from my coat into my vest, and now it's become like a thing. And apparently, this is what every Eurydice goes through. The stage managers, when I go off stage, they're always like hold up a flower to be like, remember, put flower in the ring.
You're not alone.
I'm not alone.
I'm
but
sure it's all of them.
being a lead in a musical is a different vibe.
Yeah. I want to go back to your Broadway debut because it was actually in the original production of Miss Saigon, right?
Well, no, he never did Broadway.
I never did Broadway.
For the
you
original
never-
production. His Broadway debut was the revival.
We started it in London in
Yeah.
'89, but I never did Broadway until 2017.
All right, so let's talk about. I thought you went on in the ensemble originally.
No, I was in the ensemble
in the West End.
with Lea Salonga.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk. So your Broadway debut at Miss Saigon. What do you remember about that magical night?
Oh God, that's a blur.
It was a while ago.
Yeah, I remembered. I was older than everyone. I was even older than Eva's parents. I was like, oh my.
Still are.
Yeah, and still, yeah, and I remembered. Oh, this is Broadway talent. Everyone in the ensemble just.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so talented, and I remember walking to the Broadway theater for our first rehearsal in the theater, and I started getting. I'm an emotional person.
We know, totally.
I was videoing myself. Like, I'm on my way to the theater, and then when I looked up and went, "There's the theater, there's the theater." But it was magical. Like, I'm on Broadway. There's something about that, you're on Broadway. Yeah, there's a voice, the fates.
Yeah.
They're telling me, you're on Broadway. You're on Broadway. How does it feel?
But I remember your opening night, and that we all talked that night. I remember that. But you two have worked together on television before, because of course you worked on your series, Star Trek Picard.
Yes, but we didn't have any scenes together.
I know. But we did in
American
Gianni
Crime Story, Gianni Versace. I played his daughter, and I said, "What's going on?"
Yeah.
So this is a little different.
So he worked on your series, but you didn't have any dialogue or any scenes together.
Everyone in the cast was like, "We got to work with your dad." I'm like, "Cool."
I didn't.
I didn't.
But Versace, you had a line together.
Yes. Yeah. I got to see him be very scary.
Totally.
But that was really cool because that was like the first time I really, even though we didn't work a lot
Yeah.
together, I just got to witness him working
Yeah.
more than I ever had, and that was really really special to like see his, you know, process is a funny word, but like see him in the zone and
Yeah.
creating such an intense character and seeing. And it was very kind of similar in a way to The Engineer and the intensity of it, but to see him like create it before
Yeah.
my eyes was really really amazing. And now I get to see the creation again, but on stage.
Okay, you're one of the nicest men I know. You got to do Ratchet, playing one of the most evilest doctors in the world.
I know.
I mean, where do you channel that? Or is it fun playing a villain or a villainess or villainer?
Always fun
Yeah.
because it's something that
Well, because
you
no villain thinks they're the villain.
yeah, and exactly, and that's the thing. You have an objective, like you want something, and how hard is it to get, and what would you do to get it? And you know, if that is there, it's always it's gonna be and it can be wacky. It can be over the top sometimes, and it can be dangerous. It can be beautiful, and all those stuff. And also, at the same time, I've met people like that. And you've always wondered, what makes this person tick? What makes this person keep going? And when you discover that, you try to have fun, and you just let go. But as long as you're always grounded in truth, right? Because you can't just do whatever
caricature
a
or-
caricature.
Well, that shows you how great you are, because I watched that show and I was like, he's the nicest person in the world. He's so terrible. Meaning the character on that show, I was like, you know.
Every friend
Yeah.
that I've had, like,
Is that your dad?
if they see him first, either Miss Saigon, because he's scary as shit,
Yeah.
Miss Saigon,
Yeah.
and Gianni Versace, Ratchet, anything, they're always just like, they'll meet my dad and be like, wait, why
That
is
can't
he
be
the
that man.
sweetest man in the world? He's so terrifying on screen.
Because I have a dark side.
Well, also Goosebumps. You have a huge following from your show, Goosebumps. How fun was it doing that show?
Oh, so fun. That was really
Yeah.
that was really the first time I got to work with people my age.
Yeah.
And
Right.
it's always, I mean, hey, it's so beautiful the opportunities I've had to work with older actors,
Yeah.
more experienced people who have taught me so much. But it also leads you to kind of be in the mindset of like, oh, I know less than you. I shouldn't talk because like
Yeah.
you're gonna teach me your wisdom. But this was the first time that I was around people my age, and we were all just like, this is pretty crazy what we're doing here, right? And we got to be in the same boat, and also very cool for me to, I mean, a lot of the other actors were like, you've done this more than we have, so you're kind of the person we're looking to. And that was very new for me, and a big lesson in like trusting myself, standing up for myself, also standing up for other people
Yeah.
who didn't think they had a voice, because that was me before. And it was definitely a big, just personal moment for me, as well as just, it was so fun.
And leading a
Goosebumps,
company.
I
Leading a company.
I grew up with Goosebumps. I
Yeah.
mean, it was so cool. I met the most, like, all five of us, the core group of kids, we're all still like best friends.
Yeah.
We talk all the time, and I'm so grateful for that experience.
Well, because of the success both of you have had in other mediums, what's great about it, we all learned, we all went to the theater because of a TV person we knew or a movie person, like, oh my God, they do this live. So, I mean, you're introducing a whole new audience to live theater, what that means to both of you.
It's very exciting, because I think there's always ongoing conversation of like, oh, is theater gonna die, or something like that, and that is, I don't think that's true. That can't be true. It shouldn't be true. And I think there are new audiences coming in every day, and there's always talk of like, oh, stunt casting is so annoying or whatever, and I understand those arguments, but also it's bringing theater to people. Like, that's huge. It's keeping theater alive, and that's really, really exciting to see, like, people at the stage door being like, I love Goosebumps, and like, I didn't know you could sing, and like, oh, I want to do this now. Like, that's so beautiful.
Yeah. And I really think everyone should be able to experience theater.
Yeah.
Theater is it changes your life. The TV, movies. Yeah, it tells you a story, and sometimes it touches you. But theater is a totally different experience. You sit there in anticipation as the curtain is about to go up, and once it goes up, literally magic happens. The light hits you, the music hits you, and the performances, it's right there in front of you. They're living it. They're angry, they're passionate, they're happy, they're laughing, and you laugh with them, and it's so palpable. You can even touch it. It's such a different experience, and everyone should experience it.
Because every movie star and TV star that I've talked to said they love coming to the theater because it's your medium, and you can take an arc. You start from the very beginning and you tell a whole entire story.
Yeah.
And
it's not disjointed.
No,
you
and
get to live the whole life in that one night.
Yeah.
Over and over.
And they love coming back and like walking that tightrope every night, not knowing.
I mean, it's my favorite thing, especially with this show, because this show destroys people because it's so emotional.
Yeah.
I mean, it's devastating at the end, but watching. I have little moments where I can kind of sneak looks to the audience and see how they're reacting, and it's especially during Epic 3, when Hades and Persephone are finally coming together. That's when you hear the like, and you see all of a sudden like hands going up because people are just like so overwhelmed by the beauty and the release and the relief of it, and I remember being in that seat when I watched. I watched back in 2019. I got to see Eva and meet Eva up there, and I remember being so overwhelmed by the beauty of the show and the story they were telling. I mean, just Orpheus going to the world we dream about and the one we live in now. I was just overcome, and I started bawling, and I was just like, that's so simple, yet it just affected me so, and seeing the audience every night feeling the same way is just so special.
And you get to do that, the audience and you, 8 times a week, and it's always different. That's the magic of it. My final question is, it's a big question because Anais Mitchell and Rachel Shafkin, what a brilliant, and the designers of this show and everybody. What's made it so special? I know it's new for both of you, this production, but what's made it so special of being back here and being a part of Hadestown?
I love YouTube. Yeah. So I'm always watching before research, and I saw one that basically dissected and told the story, the history of how this happened, and I found out so many things about Anais, and the more I understood, the more I realized that it's a genius. This is a work of genius, and the guidance of Rachel. Rachel, she's freaking amazing as well. So being involved in this show was what was so exciting, and to delve into that. Yeah. When I got the offer, I thought, can I do this? Following in the footsteps of 2 legends, how can I tell this? But they were the ones who say, bring yourself. That's the beauty of this. This is it's a myth. We're telling a myth, and you can bring your own self into this story to tell this story. And I went, I got it. Yeah. I know what to do with this. And did I answer your question?
Yes, you did beautifully. Yeah. For you.
I've already talked about it, but the message of the show is just so affecting and always has been since I first watched it. And the message of hope. And the last song, Cups, that message of the people who sing in the dead of night, the flowers that bloom in the bitter snow, and it's like the people who persevere and keep hoping, even when they've been knocked down over and over again. And that is life, that's activism, and I feel like growing up seeing my dad, this Asian American actor who has been through so much, who has been through so many hardships and kept persevering, and has now paved the way for other Asian American actors. Like that is obviously the Hadestown is about so many things, but since we get to bring our own things to it, like, to me, that is the story. It's like, he persevered, he through the bitter snow made it here, and gets to inspire more and more people and change the world. I mean, I think we've talked a lot about how activism changes throughout the years, how we'll be talking to some of our dear friends who are other older Asian actors who, when they were coming up, had to be quiet or had to kind of bite their tongue sometimes and do 100 times more work than other people just to be seen. And now there's generations of Asian actors coming up being like, no, we're not going to take that. We are going to be loud and we're going to fight. And the fact that both of those exist and wouldn't exist without each other, like, those are the different types of ways that we fight. And I feel like it's just really beautiful to see, to be both generations in that together, and then telling this type of story that is about continuing to hope and continuing to fight no matter what.
Jesus, you're good.
You are good. Listen, it's been great catching up with both of you. I adore your dad. I've known him for a long time. It is so great to meet you. And like I said, have the time of your lives. I'm so glad you're back. Welcome home to Broadway.
Thank you.
Welcome to Broadway.
Thank you.